Okay. The content of this presentation is proprietary and confidential information of the Florida Firefighter Safety and Health Collaborative. It is not intended to be distributed by any party without the written consent of the collaborative. Attendees should note that the educational component of this session is being recorded and will be published on our YouTube page. To maintain complete confidentiality, an announcement will be made before recording begins, and only the presenter will be identified during the recording. Therefore, to ensure anonymity, which I thought was a great word and probably need to change, all attendees are asked to mute their microphones until an announcement is made that the recording is complete. Presentations are intended for educational purposes only and do not replace independent professional judgment. The ideas expressed in this presentation are the professional opinion of the presenter and do not necessarily represent those of the Florida Firefighter Safety and Health Collaborative or its constituents. Before acting on any of the information presented, attendees should consider the appropriateness of the information as it pertains to their individual situation and seek independent professional advice should any concerns arise. If you or anyone you know are in what is believed or perceived to be a situation that is or may become harmful, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline via phone at 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233, or through their website, thehotline.org, or dial 911 in the event of an emergency. That said, we are grateful this evening to welcome Steve Click to our connection. Steve Click serves as the first responder liaison for the Ohio Mental Health Addiction Services. Prior to assuming his current position, he served as a lieutenant assigned to the Ohio State Highway Patrol, Office of Personnel Ohio Assist Program. Steve had been involved in peer support with the patrol's members assistance team since its inception in 2002. He previously served as the operational commander. Prior to retirement, lucky you, he oversaw, we're all hoping to get there, he oversaw all aspects of the team, including policies, activations, and training. He has been active in peer support since CISM being trained in 1993. He was deployed to New York City twice after 9/11 attacks and worked with the NYPD peer support program. He helped bring the post-critical incident stress seminars to Ohio. He's been utilized as a peer in South Carolina, Kentucky, Texas, Georgia. Tonight with us, we're very grateful. He serves as the lead trainer for several training programs offered by Ohio and the Assist program, having provided training to a number of public safety and civilian agencies across Ohio. Steve holds a bachelor's degree from Franklin University in public safety management with minors in leadership and public relations. Steve is trained in both group and individual peer support by the International Critical Incident Stress Foundation. Steve retired with 36 years. My goodness, bless your heart. That's an accomplishment. With 36 years of service with the state of Ohio Highway Patrol, and served in a number of assignments, including commander of cadet training, the patrol's motorcycle unit, and the Ohio State House Detail, as well as several field supervisory positions. He and his wife, Lori, live in Grove City, Ohio. Now that I am dyslexic, by the way, so I'm kind of proud of that all of it actually came out. Now that we've introduced Steve, we remind everybody to please put yourself on mute. And Steve, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle. And folks, I really appreciate this opportunity to be with you this evening, and appreciate the connection with Michelle and the Florida Firefighter Safety Collaborative, because I just think that what we do in public safety is just so important, and taking care of each other is so important. That's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. As Michelle said, I'm the first responder liaison to Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services. Ohio has roughly 92,000 first responders, police, fire, EMS, corrections, and dispatch. So those are the folks that I help connect with mental health resources, try to build those partnerships between mental health and public safety, as well as the post-critical incident seminars and doing a number of trainings. And just getting really appreciative of the fact that I get to speak to you folks this evening. Well, we're going to talk a little bit this evening about self-care. And the reason that we're going to talk about self-care is because you folks are caregivers. You're sheepdogs, to use an analogy from Colonel Dave Grossman that talks about, public safety being sheepdogs, and you protect your community and you protect the folks that you work with and everything else. Because you're focused on that and because that is part of your DNA, sometimes you forget to take care of yourself. So when talking to Michelle, she thought it might be a good idea if we talk to you guys tonight. Nothing that I'm going to talk about for the next little bit is going to be something that you've never heard of before. It's not going to be some epiphany, but it is a good reminder of the things that you need to do in order to remember why you need to take care of yourself. Now, I really doubt that anything I'm going to talk about for the next little bit this evening is going to be anything that's going to cause anybody any anxiety or feeling uncomfortable. Given what you do for a living, given what you do day in and day out, and the roles that you play in your communities and your departments, I really doubt that. But I always do like to make this available, that if for some reason we go somewhere, because we don't know what's going on in people's lives, if by chance I do start to go somewhere that makes you uncomfortable, don't hesitate, log off, get with Michelle. She'll get you a copy of the recording. We'll get you a copy of the PowerPoint, whatever works better for you. Again, I highly doubt that that's going to be the case given who I'm working with tonight, but you never know what's going on. So every day you folks are faced with traumatic and stressful situations. The last estimate is they say that most first responders are faced with approximately 188 stressful or traumatic incidents in the course of their career. And where they get that number, I'm not 100% sure. But what I need to tell you right up front is, what do I consider to be a traumatic or stressful situation for purposes of our conversation this evening? And the answer is yes. And the reason I say it that way is this: if it is stressful or traumatic to you right now, it is stressful or traumatic. Whether it would be last week, whether it will be next week, whether, no matter how long you've been doing what you're doing, if it is stressful or traumatic to you, it is stressful or traumatic. And one of the things the mental health folks like me to say is, you're having a normal reaction to an abnormal circumstance. Well, I can't leave things alone, so I add to it. You're having a normal reaction to an abnormal circumstance for you right now. And I think that's important to understand, in that, no matter how long we've been doing this, no matter how long you've been a firefighter, a medic, no matter what you did before, you may have prior military experience, none of that matters. Tomorrow, next week, a month from now, you could respond to a situation and have a reaction to that situation unlike any reaction that you've ever had before. And that's okay, because at that point in time, you are having a normal reaction to that stressful or traumatic situation for you. The problem is that that applies to everybody. You folks also are often faced with emergency situations, and you never know. You can go in for work and it can be 24 hours of either very mundane calls or no calls at all. You never know, depending on where you work. You could also be in a situation where you are just running from the minute you walk in the door with some major situations. You just never know. That's part of the life of being in public safety. So during the last year or so, which is kind of what we're going to focus on a little bit, in addition to that normal life that you had with emergency calls and stressful and traumatic situations and the responsibilities you had at the department, life continues to happen for all of us. Home looks different than it did for many of us 13, 14 months ago. I was talking to Michelle at the beginning, Michelle and Michael, and I was explaining that 3 days a week, my wife works from home. Now, through most of last year, she went to the office 5 days a week, and I was home, on what I call house arrest. Now she works from home 3 days a week. So we had to set up something. So I'm in the home office, she's in the dining room. And we both have to kind of, blend our processes here so that way we're both able to get our work done. So home might be different. Maybe you've got spouses working from home that weren't before. And certainly our kids. With our kids being out of school for as long as they were, and now some are either going back full time or they're going back hybrid. But having the kids at home, and if you had a spouse at home that was trying to make sure that they were being able to do their work while making sure that the kids were focused on their work and they weren't playing Grand Theft Auto or whatever, and you had the problems of bandwidth and technology and all that. Another problem rose with kids, and this doesn't have anything to do with age. Explaining to kids over the last year why, no, you can't go to a friend's house. No, they can't come to our house. No, we're not playing baseball. The amusement parks are closed. You can't go to the pool. whatever. And that didn't have anything to do with a specific age, because I'm certain that those battles were just as difficult with a 4-year-old as they were with a 17-year-old. A lot of times in public safety, we can see threats and we can do what we can to mitigate those threats. I know that the fire service has really focused on what can they do to help mitigate and try to do what they can for the health risks that you folks face during the course of your duties. And I know that they're continuing to work on that, and they're making use of technology and all the other different abilities to do that. However, this last 13 months, 14 months has created a situation that for a lot of us in public safety was something we couldn't see. And we had no idea what our reaction was going to be to it. And, we heard all of the initial estimates. I can only speak to what they said. At the beginning of all this, Ohio was expecting 2 million cases. We don't have 2 million cases. We were expecting 2 million cases with 100,000 dead. That was what they told us to expect out of this. Well, luckily, we're not even close to those numbers. But we didn't know, when we went out, what were we bringing back into the home? Maybe we had family that was compromised, our children. Maybe we had elderly parents or other family members ourselves. Maybe we had situations where we felt that we might be compromised. And that's really created additional stresses on us over the last year that maybe we didn't have before. Again, acknowledging that you folks already have very stressful, traumatic, and sometimes emergency type jobs. All too often, our focus is on taking care of others. That's what we do. We're sheepdogs. We come to work. We respond to calls within the community. We take care of the community. We do that often at the cost of our families. If we're on shift, we go to work. We do those things. We miss birthdays. We miss baseball games. We miss musicals. We miss big major events because we're working. And that's what we do. We take care of others. What we're going to just talk about for a little bit this evening, and what I'm hoping that you walk away with, is the understanding that you are important as well, that you're important, and remembering that, not that you're the only priority, but you got to make yourself a priority. And that's one of the things that we don't do in this line of work. I know that in my time on the patrol, I missed a lot of things because I had to go to work. And we kind of get in that mindset, if we're not there, who's going to take care of it? And guess what? Somebody's going to take care of it. But we need to talk about why we have to be a priority and why we need to take care of ourselves, because we're important as well. I want to talk for just a minute about the concept of bears and ducks. And I really wish I knew who I stole this from, because I would love to give them credit for it. But here's how bears and ducks go. If you're taken out by a bear, our buddy there on the left, it's loud, bloody, exciting, violent. Chances are, hopefully in your life, if you ever have a bear, it's a one-shot deal. You don't deal with them a lot. For the fire service, the bear could be the loss of a coworker. It could be a mass casualty incident. It could be a situation involving children or the elderly. Those are examples of bears in your world. And fortunately, hopefully, we go through our careers with not a whole lot of them. But remember, if you're taken out by a bear, loud, bloody, exciting, violent, usually a one-shot deal. If you're taken out by ducks, it is not loud, bloody, exciting, or violent. It takes place over a very long period of time. And I think as you look back through your career, while you might identify that maybe you had either a bear or something close to a bear, I know that you've all had ducks. I look back at my career in the highway patrol, and quite frankly, folks, I feel very fortunate. I don't think I had a bear. Now, other people have disagreed with me, people that have heard this analogy and have heard some of the stories of things that happened during my career on the highway patrol. And they're like, how was that not a bear? And it's because it was Tuesday. It's what we do. We come to work, we deal with, and then we go home. But I know for a fact I had ducks. The very first fatal traffic crash I responded to, I was 11 days out of the academy, 21 years old, Sunday morning, my first day driving, or supposed to be driving, out on South 3Bs and a K Road, really inventive name, in the east side of Delaware County, which is just north of Columbus, Ohio. We had a report of a rollover, possible entrapment. And we responded out there, and a 16-year-old had lost control of his pickup truck. He was coming home from breakfast. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning. It was a beautiful, bright, clear, sunny day, dry pavement, warm weather. The young man lost control of the pickup truck. As he rolled, it partially ejected his 17-year-old friend, who became trapped underneath the roof of the truck. He panicked, he threw up, he aspirated it, and he died. It got more difficult because the families all showed up on the scene. Because they were coming from the same breakfast that the young men were. So I have this fatal crash. It's my first day driving. I'm responsible for the investigation. I know there's going to be prosecution. I've got the family there. And guys, that wasn't a bear in my career, but it was certainly a duck. We take the guy on the left seriously. Unless you've had a traumatic experience on a golf course, you probably don't get too excited about our buddy there on the right. But ducks take a toll on us, and we need to acknowledge that toll that they take over 5, 10, 25, 30 years of doing this work. Those ducks take a toll on us, and we need to be aware of that, and we need to acknowledge that. So what can we do to help ourselves and others when these things happen? Well, number one of the things we can do is exercise. Now, I used to work for a woman whose idea of a good time was to run for 10 miles, bike for 35, and swim for 2 hours. And that wasn't preparation for anything. That was just a Thursday morning. And I kind of had a policy that when I was on the road that if I had to run from here to the mailbox, somebody was probably going to jail. That just wasn't me. But you need to exercise in moderation to where you are today, not where you think you might be. If the farthest you've ran since the academy is from the couch to the refrigerator, if the fastest you've ran since the academy is during a commercial break, and the most weight you've lifted since the academy is 12, 24, or 32 ounces, next week, don't try to go do a triathlon. You can build up to that, but not next week. Because if you rush it and you rush right out and you overdo it, now you've got a torn this, a hyperextended that, and a messed up this on top of all that you were already dealing with. If you haven't been in the weight room in the last 18 months, do not walk in the day after a critical or traumatic incident and decide you're going to bench press or leg press the stack, because you're just going to hurt yourself in addition to everything else. You can get there, but don't do it immediately. Structure your free time. That was one of the biggest problems I had at the beginning of all of this COVID stuff, is I went from being on the road 3 to 4 days a week, traveling all over the state of Ohio, getting to talk to fire departments, EMS, dispatch centers, corrections. I just got to travel the whole state and I loved it. And immediately I was on house arrest. And at the very beginning, I couldn't do these courses online. I didn't know about Zoom and Skype and WebEx and Teams, and I didn't know about all those things. Nobody knew I could do them. So folks like Michelle weren't calling and saying, hey, can you do these courses? So I had a lot of free time. Then unfortunately, I filled with the media. We'll talk about the media before we wrap up. But have some structure to your free time if you have that free time. That being said, you don't have to schedule every minute of every day. If your first day off is I ain't doing nothing, great, that's fine. That's your structure for that day. I'm not doing anything today. I'm not planning anything. I'm going to take care of the things that come along. But if you have that free time, know, hey, I'm going to go get my hair cut. I'm going to go work on the car. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go for a motorcycle ride. I'm going to go for a run. Whatever you're going to do, just have some ideas, because if we don't, and we just sit around, that leads us to getting and watching the media and getting on social media. And we'll talk about that here shortly too before we wrap up. But have some structure to your free time. Now, I've heard a lot of people say this. They hate the term new normal. And I get it. I don't care for the term either. I know a lot of folks like to use that. You're going to be, we're going to go into our new normal and everything. I don't like that, because I think new implies good. And not everything that's going to be different in the future is going to be good, but not everything's going to be bad either. When you hear people on the news media and mental health folks talk about new normal, take the word new out and put the word different. We're going to have a different normal going into the future. COVID is going to change how we do business. It's not going to ever go back to even February of 2020 again. It's just not. There's going to be differences. I'm sure that you've already seen differences in policies and procedures and things that you do in the fire service. And some of those will go different after COVID passes, but some of them are going to stay the same. We've had a series of different normals our whole career. We just didn't know they were called that. Many years ago, some knucklehead decided it'd be a good idea to light his shoes on fire to try to bring down an aircraft. And since then, every time we go to the airport, we basically have to get undressed to get on board an airplane. We get scanned and we get smelled and we get all this other stuff. And we complain about it and I grumble about it constantly. Hasn't stopped me from flying. You used to be able to just walk into a government building and there was a receptionist there. You walked in and you stay. Now you got to buzz in. Maybe you guys have seen this at your departments now. Even interior doors might be secured now that you got to use a swipe card to get to different places. It's different and it's okay. You had a series of different normals your whole life. When you graduated from high school, when you went to college, graduated from college, got married, had children, joined the fire department, maybe accepted rank within the fire department. Maybe now you're a lieutenant, a captain, a battalion chief, whatever. Maybe you're a medic and you've got different responsibilities. And those have all been different than where you were before. And I'd like to think many of those worked out for you. And you know that those worked out. Not everything that's going to change for the future is going to be bad. Not everything's going to be good either, but it's going to be different. It was going to be different anyway. Life has been different since 9/11. Life has been different since a lot of things happened. And if we just kind of maybe change our mindset about different versus new. One of the other things I'd like you to think about really quick is as you're looking at the things that happen in your career, I want you to kind of change the terminology that you use. And here's what I want you to think about. Instead of saying this is something that happened to me, I want you to think of it as this is a situation I was involved in. Now, what is the difference? When things happen to us, we didn't have a choice. We were along for the ride. It happened to us. We really had no control over it. You're firefighters by choice. You're medics by choice. Public safety is public safety by choice. And when we change our mindset to this is something that happened to me, to this is a situation I was involved in, we take back that control, and that control is very critical. As Michelle said, I had the good fortune for almost 6.5 years. I was a motorcycle officer for the Highway Patrol. We'd had motorcycles way back in the day, got rid of them in 1956, brought them back in 2006. And when I went to motorcycle school, one of the things the instructor said is when you're done with this 2-week school, you will drive your motorcycle, not ride your motorcycle. Because when you ride your motorcycle, basically you're along for the ride. The motorcycle does what it's going to do. We're going to teach you how to drive that motorcycle. And I think that that's one of the things we need to look at in our careers as police officers, firefighters, medics, whatever. We choose to be there. So when we're involved in that situation, we chose to be there. We might not have chose what happened. We might not have chose the outcome, but we chose to be there. And it's about taking back that control. I had control. I could be there or not. And that's one of the things that maybe kind of help us change our mindset a little bit. You got to talk about it. You got to find somebody that you know that you trust, somebody that has your best interests at heart, will protect your confidentiality, and will be there for you no matter what. And if you're that person that somebody comes to and says, hey, I need to talk, you need to be that person for them. You need to have their best interest at heart. You need to protect their confidentiality, and you need to protect them. Had a young man I worked with many years ago was involved in a shooting. It was so close, he had a hold of the suspect's gun. When it went off, it burned his hand. He was so close. He ended up shooting and killing the suspect. I talked to him a couple of weeks later and I said, are you doing okay? He goes, you know, Sarge, I'm doing okay. I talked to my dad. I talked to my minister. I talked to the lieutenant, and I talked to you. And I felt very privileged to be in that group. First of all, he talked to his dad. His dad was not an easy man. He's not an affectionate man, but he loved his family very much. And what he thought was extremely important to this young man, he talked to his minister. Because despite what the media would have you believe, I've never met an officer that looked forward to the opportunity to take a human life. And that is certainly not why this young man had decided to become a state trooper. But he was put in a situation that he had to respond to save his life, the life of a civilian, and another officer that was at the scene. He talked to our lieutenant, who had been in 2 shootings, which was unheard of in our agency at that time, and he talked to me. Think about talking like your car. As you're driving down the road, if your car makes noise, you turn the radio up, and finally one day you're driving down the road and either there's no song on or you forgot to turn the radio on. All of a sudden you go, hey, the car's not making that noise anymore. It must have fixed itself. Cars don't fix themselves. Neither do people. I cannot guarantee that I can help you. I can't guarantee that Michelle can help you, or a clinician, or a chaplain, or anybody can help you. What I can guarantee you with almost 100% certainty is this. If you don't talk about it, it will not get better, and it will almost always get worse. Be careful about who you talk to. Find that person you trust. Find that person that has your best interest, and find that person that will protect your confidentiality. But you got to get it out. So went to World Trade. Went up there after the 9/11 attacks, and we got in on the Sunday night after Thanksgiving. And we found a restaurant in Manhattan that was actually open on Sunday right after 9/11, Thanksgiving weekend, to have a meal. And we knew that the next week was going to be difficult, but we just wanted to have a nice meal to kind of calm ourselves before we started work on Monday morning. They brought teams in from all over the country, and one of the teams from another state had done the same thing we did. They went to a different restaurant. That team drank a toast. They drank a toast to the people who had died, the people they knew that were going to die in the future, and the folks that they hoped that they could help over the next week. When the organization we were working for heard that they had consumed alcohol, they said they had self-medicated and they sent them home. Nobody got drunk, nobody got stupid, nobody got in trouble. I thought that was really dumb 20 years ago, and I think it's really dumb today. If you come home from work and you want to go out and sit in your backyard and you want to have a beer, not 12. If you want a Crown and 7, have a Crown and 7, not 6. If you want a glass of wine, have a glass of wine, not the bottle. You're a grown-up. Be smart about it. And if you're in recovery, ignore everything I just said. You don't get to drink at all, and it will be okay. And when it comes to medication, you may have the same symptoms you had before. You may have the same symptoms somebody does in your house. But if your name is not on the prescription and it doesn't have a recent date, don't take it. If you feel you need medication, make an appointment with a doctor, make an appointment with a clinician, go talk to them. And if they believe you need medication and you agree, follow that medication to the absolute letter. Don't take something that isn't prescribed for you. Don't take something that hasn't been prescribed for you recently. And if you're in recovery, don't do it. There are other options that you have. But avoid self-medication with drugs or alcohol so that you don't take a situation and make it even worse by self-medicating. We're not good at letting people help us. We really aren't. We're the people call to come help. So we're much better at being the fixer than we are being the person that needs help. And I am especially bad at that. I have all kinds of strikes against me. State trooper, law enforcement officer, all these other things. I held rank. I was a commander. All these reasons why I can't ask for help. And I found that as I was getting older and I retired, certain subjects, when I would talk about them, would cause me to get very emotional. The chaplain for the Ohio State Highway Patrol is Reverend Richard Ellsworth. Reverend Ellsworth is 96 years old, or 96 years young, this coming up July. Served his country in the Second World War. He is an engineer by education. He's been in the ministry over 70 years. He's the one that married my wife and I. If there's a person on this planet that I think has an inside track to the boss, it's Reverend Ellsworth. And I found that when I would talk about Rev, because I realized that we are much closer to the end than we are the beginning, I found myself getting very emotional. So I sit down with one of our clinicians that does our seminars, somebody whose opinion I respect, and I really think she does a great job. She gets it. She gets first responders because we're a little bit weird. And I sit down and I explained everything to her. And I said, so what's the deal? And, am I getting emotional in my old age? Am I going crazy or whatever? And she looked at me and she smiled. She patted my shoulder very condescendingly and she says, nope, you're just finally growing up. Now, what she realized at that point in time was exactly what I needed. I didn't need psychobabble. I didn't need a hug. I needed somebody whose opinion I respected and I knew that they knew what they were talking about to look at me and say, you're normal. You're having your normal reaction to this set of circumstances. And that's what I needed. And I felt markedly better as soon as I did that. We're not good at asking people for help, and we have to get better because we cannot be all things to all people at all times, as much as we think we can, as much as we want to be. But you folks are firefighters, you're medics, you may hold rank within the department, your moms, dads, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, children. You're all of these things, and you cannot be everything to everybody all the time. Everybody needs a recharge. I mean, even Superman had to go to the Palace of Solitude on occasion. Everybody needs to be able to count on somebody at times. So what are some of the other ideas that we have? Well, number one, spend time with others. And I know that it's been difficult this year. And I swear, I told my wife the other day, the next time when all this is over with, if I hear somebody use the words social distancing together in a sentence, they're getting punched in the throat. Well, rest assured, I'm not going to assault anybody as much as I might want to. But I know that with all of this, distancing and everything and physical distancing, I know that's difficult, but we can still do that and still do it safely. One of the things my wife and I do is on nice afternoons is we go for walks in the neighborhood. We have met people in our neighborhood. We've lived here 3 years that we did not know. We've met some amazing people. We've got some nice people in this neighborhood. We're 15 feet away. We're on the sidewalk there on the porch. We smile, we wave, we say hi, we talk for a minute, and we continue on with our walk. We are social people. We are social by nature. And cutting ourselves off from the world is not good for our mental health. It's not good for us. So we need to spend time with others. Coworkers who have been involved in the same incident can certainly benefit by being together. They know things about that incident that we don't know. And as empathetic as we want to be and as supportive as we want to be, if we weren't there, there's things about the situation that we don't know and we can't speak intelligently. So it's good for coworkers to spend time together. Give yourself the grace to know that it's okay to have bad hours or bad days. It is not always going to be Skittles and rainbows. There are going to be bad times, whether it's something that happens at work, whether it's something that happens at home, whether it's a combination thereof. No, it's okay to have those bad days and bad hours and bad days. What I would ask you is though this: if bad hours become bad days and if bad days become a bad week, you need to think about it. When week becomes weeks, and certainly when weeks become months, we have to think seriously about going to see a qualified mental health clinician or physician or somebody. And that doesn't make us weak. In fact, if anything, it proves we're strong. It's no different than going to see the eye doctor, no different than going to see the dentist, no different than going to see anybody else, because for a finite period of time, maybe we need to something. And if we've had a bad week, because we can have a bad week, those things happen. But when week becomes weeks, and certainly if weeks become months, we need to take that initiative to take care of ourselves. Some people like to journal, diary. If that's you, great, rock on. But I would ask you to do this. Please do it old school. Pencil, notebook, keep it between the mattress and the box springs. Do not put it on the internet. First and foremost, nobody cares. We don't care what you think of the chief. We don't care what you think of that person down the street. We don't care what you think really about anything. The people in your life care. The rest of us really don't care what you think about that. And the most important part of that is those are your personal thoughts and feelings. Do it old school. Pencil, notebook, keep it between the mattress and the box springs. Every once in a while, pitch it on a bonfire, throw it in the fireplace, run it through the shredder. So that way it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. And only share it with those people you know you can trust and have your best interest at heart. But some people like to do that. It helps them prioritize things. It helps them review things and move forward. You got to do the things you enjoy, folks. There's never been a time that's been more important for you to do that. And the problem is the department is not going to set aside happy time. They're just not. Even your family's not going to do that. You need to carve out that time for yourself, just like you carve out time for working out, just like you carve out time for all the other personal things you got to do. You got to carve out time to do things that make you smile. Ride your bike, ride your motorcycle, go for a run, work out, do yard work, do woodworking, play music, write music, read a movie, read a book, watch a movie, whatever it is, play with your kids or your grandkids, whatever it is that makes you smile, you have to allocate that time. It is a priority. You make time for everything else in your day. You got to make time for you. You got to make time for those things that you enjoy. And you got to remember, you're not the only one feeling the stresses from everything that's going on. When something bad happens in the fire service, you guys work much closer than law enforcement does. You work as a piece of equipment. You work as a firehouse. You work as a shift. And when something happens, that doesn't affect just one of you. It affects all of you. And not only does it affect you, it affects your families. Even to this day, I'm retired 2.5 years, and I hear law enforcement officer killed, firefighter killed. I start to perk up. Firefighter, police officer killed in the state of Ohio. Now I'm really perked up. Firefighter, police officer killed in Central Ohio. Now I am laser focused to see what's going on, because those things affect us. And we can say, and let me help you. As a retiree, that doesn't stop when you stop getting the regular paycheck and you start drawing the retirement paycheck. None of that stuff stops. You've got to understand that everybody in your family is feeling those same stresses that you are. Maybe you heard a couple of years ago, we had a situation at the Ohio State Fair where a ride broke apart. It slammed into a concrete barrier. It killed a young man, seriously injured several people. It happened right in the middle of the midway, right in a crowded time, busy time of the night. We had cadets that saw it, troopers that saw it, and a lot of civilians that saw it. They called me to the scene. I ran home. I grabbed my pistol, grabbed my badge, jumped in my unmarked car, and I flew to the fairgrounds. It was about 15 minutes away. When I got there, some woman came up to me and she said, "Officer, did you see what happened?" I said, "No, ma'am. I just got here." And she held up a phone the size of a television and she showed me the unedited video of that ride breaking apart and slamming into that barrier and killing that young man. Folks are going to know about these things before you get home. Your family's going to know about it. It's going to be on social media. It's going to be on regular media. It's going to be out before you ever walk through the door and before you ever get a chance to frame what you're going to explain to your family. So understand, sometimes they're going to feel this stress. You got to afford them a little bit of grace. At the same time, we hope that they'll afford you a little bit of grace when you walk in the door after one of those days. Be careful not to make big life changes. Do you know who made out after 9/11? The bass boat dealers, the pickup truck dealers, and the Harley Davidson dealers around New York City. Because everybody went out and bought a Ford F-250 to pull their new bass boat when they weren't on their Ultra Classic. And the 1st of November, you know what every one of them realized? I live in New York City, no place to park the truck, no place to float the boat. I don't even have a motorcycle endorsement. And the bank said, "I don't care. Where's my money?" So on top of everything else they were already dealing with as a matter of the attacks happening and the folks that they had lost, now they added all of this financial stress, which further created stress within the home that did not need any help, being already extremely stressful. Now, if you are in the process of ending a relationship or starting a relationship and something happens and you want to continue to move forward, do so by all means. You're grown-ups, you're intelligent people, do what's best for you at the time. If you want to buy a new vehicle, if you need to buy a new vehicle, that's great. Do what you need to do because you're smart and you're grown up. But don't use this critical or traumatic incident as an excuse to go out and end a relationship. If you want him or her out, you will want him or her out next week. And if you don't want him out next week, you probably didn't want him out today. Do make small decisions. And it doesn't sound like it makes sense. What am I going to eat? Where am I going to go? What am I going to watch? What am I going to wear? When I walk this afternoon, am I turning left or am I turning right? And the reason we're doing that is we're getting back that control that these incidents, these critical and traumatic incidents, and just the last year have taken away from us. And we need to get back that control. We need to get back that confidence that we can make these decisions and they'll work out. And I'm in more control over my life than some people would have me believe. Guys, we got to rest. We got to rest better than we do. I got to tell you, I don't know how you guys do it. I spent the night in a firehouse about a year and a half ago. I was invited up to do a detail for a department. We were going to do an evening, and then I was going to spend the night in the firehouse, and we were going to do the next crew come in the morning. And they, you know, this is one of those firehouses that has the small rooms. Wasn't a big open bay. I was really disappointed there was no pole I could slide down. But they put me in this small room, and the chief had explained that in the event of an alarm, the lights were going to start to come up. The red lights were going to come on before all the other lights came on. And that's a way, you know, and I was like, okay. 2:47 a.m. the alarm went off. It wasn't even an alarm for the station I was sleeping at. I wasn't going on the call anyway. I hit the switch on the wall thinking it would turn off the lights, and it turned every light in that room on. I am now wide awake. Every firefighter in that firehouse, when they realized it wasn't their firehouse that was going out on the call, pulled the covers back up and went right back to sleep, except me. And I laid there all night waiting for that alarm to go off again. I don't know how you guys do that. I really don't. Like, you've got nothing but respect for me from your ability to be able to do that. But we've got to get better rest than we do. You know, one of the biggest problems with us getting rest is this stupid thing right here. That's one of the biggest obstructions to us getting rest. Every sleep expert I've talked to says that the bedroom is for sleep and other, and blue light interferes with both. Televisions, telephones, iPads, whatever. Get them out of the bedroom. We need to get more rest. Another bad news for those of you that are getting older like me, we need more sleep than we did when we were in our 20s, and we could run on 2 and 3 and 4 hours of sleep. We thought we were operating just fine. We need better rest. Understand that recurring thoughts, dreams, flashbacks are normal. Don't fight it. It's how you learn. and we've got to eat better than we do. Had a firefighter tell me one time that he felt that the best invention in the fire service was the microwave oven. I said, how do you figure? He says, I can't tell you in the beginning of my career how many times we were just sitting down for dinner. The alarm would go off. We'd have to go out. By the time we got back, dinner was disgusting. We just threw it in the trash. We either ate junk or we went out. Now we slap the Tupperware closed. We throw it in the refrigerator, come back. We put it in the microwave. We can actually eat a meal. Kind of an interesting perspective from a guy that I'm pretty sure rode on a wagon behind horses. Now, this next slide, I am not lost on the irony of this slide, that I'm asking you to limit screen time. I get that. I'm talking to you on a screen and you're listening to me through an electronic speaker. I get that. But try to limit your screen time as much as you can. Laptops, tablets, phones, television. We're living on these now. I was telling Michelle earlier, I'm in a class right now. So for the last several days, I've been sitting here and I've been a student in a class. So I'm sitting here watching my laptop, listening to them talk to me. And you got to limit your time with the news. Let me tell you a little bit about the mainstream media. The mainstream media tells the same 3 minutes over and over and over again until something new breaks into that 3-minute cycle. The problem is this: if you only watch for 3 minutes and you tune away, you violate their business model. They need to keep you watching. They need to keep you focused. So every time they tell it until something new comes in, they make it a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more urgent that you need to stay there. Because if you don't click on their website or you don't watch their TV station and you don't watch the commercials and their sponsors and you tune away for something, that violates their business model. This is not their fault. This is what they do. It's our fault if we sit there and we buy into it. And I did, guys. At the beginning of this, man, I lived on the news. And my poor wife would walk through the door and I would hit her with, they said this and they said that. And finally, I got put on a 30-minute limit on the news. I could watch it all at one time. I could break it up if I wanted. I'll be honest, I hardly ever look at the news now. I stay informed. I check the headlines. I read those stories that I believe are important to me in my life and make sure that I'm informed. And the rest of it, I let go. How can family and friends help? Listen, listen, listen. It's the best thing they can do. They don't want to know what you think they should have done, just like you don't want to know what they think you should have done. Just listen to them. Let them talk. And once they get going, let them go. Don't interrupt them. Spend time with them. That doesn't mean talking. Sometimes that just means spending time with them, being there so that they know you're there if they need something. And you know, we always worry about what we're going to say. Don't worry about it. Just be there. Reassure them they're safe, but don't baby them. Nobody likes to be babied, especially first responders. We hate being babied. We've already felt like we've lost control. We've got to get that control back. It's okay to help with things around the house, things around the department, but don't take over. If they've got certain responsibilities, they've still got those same responsibilities. You can help, but let them do their responsibilities. Give them personal time, but be available if they want you. Sometimes a hard thing to do. Sometimes you got to wait for them to tell you, I need some time alone. Okay, back off. Maybe check back on them. Doing all right? Anything I can do? No, but I'm good with you. Hang around. Great. And understand that anger, fear, frustration, while you may be on the receiving end of it, may not necessarily be aimed at you. I know that if I've had a bad day and I'm particularly snarky with my wife, I know that if I go to her later and I'm sincere and I'm honest in my apology, for some reason she loves me and she'll forgive me. So sometimes we take it out on the people closest to us because we know we can get away with it. Your personal mental health is your responsibility. It is not the department's. It's not Michelle's. It is not the state of Florida. Or state of Georgia. It's nobody's responsibility but yours. Your personal mental health is your responsibility. And you have that responsibility to yourself, your family, your coworkers, the community, the people that are counting on you. So I go to McDonald's and I order a sandwich and I say, no pickles, please. And I'm not allergic to them. I just don't like the taste of them. They put pickles on it. No big deal. I pick them off. I put them on the wrapper. My wife will probably eat them because she likes pickles. You don't have a job like that. If you're not 100% laser focused every day you hit the road, every single day, somebody else may not come home. That's not being dramatic, guys. That's just being factual about the work that you do. You don't get to have an off day. You don't get to have a B day. You've got to be on your A game every time you roll out, every time you go on a call. Otherwise, something might happen and somebody may not come home, you or somebody else. You know, I've heard for several years, my agency doesn't care. And you know what? That is a completely true statement. No agency cares. They're agencies, they're organizations. Had something happened to me in the line of duty in the highway patrol, you know what they would have done? Let's get back to work. I had a good friend of mine killed. We had about 3 years on, and she was hit by a drunk driver, flipped out into traffic, and you know, that very next morning, I was at the Ohio State Fair directing traffic because that was my job for the next 2 days. And then we went to her funeral. And on the fourth day, I was right back directing traffic. And you know what? Somewhere in the state of Ohio, a trooper was helping somebody change a tire, and somebody was writing a speeding ticket, and somebody arrested a drunk driver and handled a crash. It's the people within the agency, you folks that are already showing that you have a heart for this by belonging to this great organization and coming together and sharing resources and looking out for one another. That's who cares. The department can't, your radio can't, your truck can't, your axe can't, your helmet can't. It's people. Take the initiative to take care of yourself. Don't wait for the department to try to allocate that time or to remind you to take care of yourself. They're not going to do it. You got to do that and take that initiative to take care of yourself and the others that you care about, those people you work with, those people that you depend on for your safety and your life. So why has Michelle asked me here tonight? And we're wrapping it up here, guys. Why has Michelle asked me here? Because your culture and your personality make you fixers. That's what you do. Again, to use the analogy of Colonel Grossman, you're sheepdogs. You fix things. You take a chaotic situation and you bring order to it. And let's be honest, we like that. That's why we got into this line of work. We like making a difference. We like fixing things. We like taking that bad situation and making it better for people and taking care of folks. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it because we're certainly not doing it for the pay. Think about the oxygen mask analogy. The last time you were in an airplane and the flight attendant was doing the safety briefing that nobody pays attention to because we all know how to put a seatbelt together, and we all know that the exits are located here, here, and here. And they said, in the event of an emergency, an oxygen mask will fall from the ceiling. Please put yours on before you attempt to help anybody else. Why did they say that? Because if you're out of the fight, if you take yourself out because you're not taking care of you, you are not helping your family, you're not helping your department, you're not helping your community. So you need to make that time to make yourself a priority, not the necessarily, but you have to be a priority. In addition to all the other things you have to balance, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your responsibilities in the department, you need to make sure that you are on that list of things that you're taking care of. Guys, I'm wrapping up here. This is my contact information. You're free to contact me. Michelle and Michael have my information. They can reach out to me at any time. If there's anything that I can do to help you or your agencies, any connections I can make. I know you're down there in that wonderful state, and you got much nicer weather than we do here. But again, if there's anything that I can ever do to help you, the community may not say it often enough, but they appreciate what you do. Let you not be there. You know, I'm going to take my shot at politicians. Politicians could be gone for 2 weeks, and who would really notice? Let you guys not show up tomorrow morning at the start of your shift. Let there not be a firefighter on duty in your jurisdiction tomorrow morning, and they will know about it immediately. They'll know about it in a heartbeat. You got to take care of yourselves. I thank you for everything you do. I truly thank Michelle and Michael for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight and talk to you folks. I look forward to any opportunities that we can, provide any kind of help or services in the future. Thank you again for what you do. Please be safe. Please take care of yourselves. I'm going to open it up to Michelle, and if anybody's got any questions.
So I will have an extreme moment of vulnerability. 5 minutes after you started speaking, I got a phone call that someone that I admire and love on my department passed away from COVID. So I heard about 5 minutes of what you said, and I apologize. But Michael did bring up a point when you were talking about hearing the tone, getting back to sleep and hearing the tones in the station. He goes, yeah, that's assuming if I heard it. And it made me laugh because I think the older and more seasoned you get, the more you learn to tune it out when you're sleeping. So I am going to ask Mark and Sam to help me out this evening and field some questions and bring up some conversation because I am on overload and I'm going to self-care. So if anyone wants to ask questions or whatnot, now's the time. And if you don't want to ask on the recording, we can stop the recording and then continue the conversation.
And guys, if there's something that you have a question or anything that I can do, please just send it. Send it to Michelle. She'll forward it to me. Again, my contact information's right there. Send it to me. I'll answer right away. I'll get back to you. Nothing goes back to the department. You know, I know Michelle in Florida, and that's one of the few people I know down there, other than some folks that are retired. So please understand, I will protect your confidentiality. But if you have any questions or anything, please don't hesitate. And then Michelle can forward your information out. Michelle, I am so sorry.
Can I ask everybody to thank you, Steve, very much. And let's pause for 20 seconds here, maybe 15, just for Michelle and her strength. Moment of silence. Thank you. Michelle, we do, our heart goes out to you. We all suffer those losses. And I think, Steve, your words are strong, man. I think Mark would agree with me, and probably Jeff Orange. Listening to you, you have a very familiar cadence and a very familiar competence with the information that you sounded like Dustin Hawkins to me a little bit, a lot of times. And I don't know if Mark or Jeff would agree, but if you know how much we love Dustin Hawkins, that's an amazing compliment.
I truly appreciate that, Sam. I really, really do. And again, I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you folks. I think you've got an amazing organization. The work that you're doing down there in helping, you know, to take care of folks, I think is just absolutely top notch. And I really appreciate everything you folks do.
What I love about what you said, and I'm going to let Mark take over for me, but I just wanted to say a couple things. I've been in the fire service. I'm retired 2 months now. I remember, I know that the bonds of the red and the blue are tight. And as I listen to you understand explicitly the challenges that we face as first responders on both sides of that aisle, there's different dynamics, but the ducks and the bears are there. And I thought of Jeff Orange when you talked about bears. I thought about my career when you talked about the ducks. I don't have any mass shootings. I don't have any of those, but I got plenty of ducks.
Yes, sir.
And the continuous nipping at your mindset and your psyche, and whether or not you're good enough, and whether or not you've done what you needed to do to prepare yourself for that structure fire, for that cardiac arrest victim, that child in a pool, that child that just got run over by a steamroller. I'm talking about calls I've been on. A 16-year-old daughter or girl that decided that her life was not worth anything now because her boyfriend broke up with her and took her own life. Those images hit you, and they're not mass shootings, but they're all opportunities for us to maybe intervene in the fire service. And we were taught in school, and Michelle talked about this in the class last week, that, you know, we're taught as we're being educated as paramedics and EMTs that Annie always lives, that the mannequin always makes it, that the pulses always come back. And we're set up for failure from day one. Yes, to believe that we think we hold this immense power to bring people back from the dead, and we just do not. God has that in his hands, and that's the way I feel about that. But as we get on the other side of those calls and those incidents that we're on, you know, you start to reflect. Is it something that I did wrong? Is it did I not to get the intubation in time? Did I get the IV? Oh gosh, I pulled up the wrong medication. I didn't have my stuff together. My team wasn't there. And if I'm an officer, did I train my crews to do what they needed to do? And you continually assess yourself and benchmark it off that life lost, that person that is now dealing with a debilitating injury. And you wonder if you had a positive or a negative impact. And many times when we're alone, we think about maybe we had a negative impact on the outcome. And that's the stuff that hits us all the time. And then you throw in the major ones, the major calls on top of that. So it begins to build. On the law enforcement side, bro, I cannot tell you, when my father was in law enforcement, I think about what you guys go through, just walking up to a car on a simple car stop, a simple traffic stop, wondering who's behind that window, why their hands aren't on the steering wheel. You're on edge. And now with the world that we're dealing with now, I can't even imagine a loved one of mine, a brother, a cousin, a child, a nephew deciding on the career of law enforcement. I would be fearful for their life because of what you guys are facing and what society is now how it's changed. So anyway, I'll just say for you, amazing presentation, very, very good, very, very on point for what I took from it. And thank you so much for being here for us and showing that commonality or that connection between the fire service and law enforcement.
Thank you so much, Sam. I truly appreciate it.
Mark, Jeff Orange, my brothers.
I agree, Steve. It was a phenomenal presentation, very well rounded. We have a lot of family members on here as well, and that's definitely what this is all about. I loved how you brought it around, talked about family and how that can help us. Talking about the ducks, I think about ducks all the time because their little flippers are always under the water, just paddling away, and they look so calm on top of the water. So
great analogy, Mark. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
If anybody else has any questions or wants to bring up anything from the presentation, this would be a great time.
Hey, Steve, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, sorry, I had to run out on a call, so I missed a little bit of it. I don't know how in-depth you went on it, but talking about your me time and putting time away for yourself. I went through a recent tough time with my family, and my daughter was sick, and there wasn't time for anybody other than my family. So when it came to my wife and I, there was very little me time. And what I found was it was really, you could take me time and leave the other person hanging, or you could find a way. It sounds so much more beneficial if you communicate the need for me time and let that person give you that me time. Therefore, they feel better because they know you need the help, and you feel better because you don't feel like you're leaving them hanging, or you're going to come back and they're going to be burnt out or stressed because you took your me time. I don't know if you covered any of that or any pointers on ways to do that, but I found that it was a huge difference between the value and what I got from my me time if it's gifted to me.
Well, Greg, I got to tell you, it's that communication between the two of you. So one of the techniques that one of our couples up here talked about is we call it bad day. And bad day works this way. You walk in the door and she immediately, or he wants to start telling you about what happened. You go, bad day. Bad day says, let me in the house. Let me take my uniform off. Let me take a shower, sit in a chair for just a minute and channel surf. But there's rules to bad day. And the rule is, before we go to bed tonight, I have to tell you why today was a bad day. And I have to listen to all the things you wanted to tell me when I walked in the door. The cool thing about bad day is that person at home, they get to have it too. So you walk in the door and you want to talk about, we had this one, bad day, which means feed yourself, feed the kids, leave me alone. I'm going to be out on the deck. And if you value your life, you'll stay in the house. But he or she has that rule too. At some point, they've got to tell you why today was a bad day. And they got to listen to your story about the structure fire or whatever you went to. It's about communication. Greg, you hit it right on the head. When you go to you guys were in a situation neither one of you could allocate time for just you. You had focus on taking care of your daughter. But by communicating with each other and going, I need 10 minutes to go out in the backyard. You or her could say, you got your 10 minutes. I've got this covered, because they know in 10 minutes, you're going to be right back. You didn't take time away. You asked and they gave it to you. And because of that, when they need their 10 minutes, you're in. Yeah, I know. You gave me my 10, you've got 15. The big thing there is that communication. And guys, we have got to stop accepting that being in law enforcement, fire service, EMS, or whatever, the inevitable result is divorce. We've got to stop accepting that as just, my folks will have been married 59 years next month. 59 years, my folks will, and they're not smarter than anybody. They didn't have they just chose not to give up. And it wasn't always easy, but they didn't give up. And we've got to stop going, well, that's marriage number one, or, well, of course you're divorced. That's what we do. We've got to stop. It's got to become the exception, not the rule. So Greg, I think you're right on point, sir. The key to that was the communication. I need a couple of minutes for me so I can come back and be better for you and our daughter. And she got that. She understood that. She was able to do that because she knew that when she needed that, you would be there for her. So yeah, I agree 100%. And I get going out on calls happens every time I get to talk to firefighters. Somebody gets toned down. It just is inevitable. I know that's a part of it.
Oh,
If
awesome.
they woke up, Steve, if they had to wake up first. I got pretty good at toning up the telephone at night.
Oh, I bet. So Lori, over the years when I was still on the patrol, Lori I'd say, did you realize the phone rang last night? No.
Wow. The best is when you get hives at work and your crew hits you with 25 milligrams of Benadryl IM. And then they're just carrying you to the truck for the sake of you actually being in the truck.
Right,
you didn't hear that, Shane. That never happened. Any other questions while we're recording? If not, I will stop the recording.
Yes,
oh
John.
God, I was on recording.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, John Fleming? Yeah, I got a call as well, but I don't know if you brought up any part while I was out about sections of self-care in regards to spiritual or professional self-care or emotional self-care, how it's all, there's different types.
There is, and we talked a little bit about that if it's been a bad week and weeks have turned into weeks and weeks have turned into months, you need to go talk to a clinician. And we got to stop thinking of that as a weakness. We got to start thinking that as a strength. No different than going to the eye doctor, no different than going to the dentist. If I need this, I go to that. And maybe it's a clinician, maybe it's a chaplain, maybe it's just somebody that I really know and respect and I know has my best interests at heart. But I've got to do those things for myself, for my self-care. I saw a clinician when I was going through a divorce. I went to see a clinician. It was it was very helpful for me. I saw him for 4 or 5 sessions and that was it. He didn't want to medicate me. We talked about it. It put me in a better frame of mind as I move forward. He didn't fix anything. He didn't make it all better because, it wasn't. But he put me in the right track and he put me in the right frame. And I think that in public safety, we need to start encouraging that and try to remove the stigma from the fact that sometimes we all need something or someone.
Yeah. I also liked what you said about, the organization doesn't care. Well, it's true. You are a commodity. You could dump your heart and soul into the organization and you're just a commodity to them. And if you do all this extra work and do all this extra stuff, number one, you're just creating more work for your supervisor. And so they're not necessarily going to be thrilled. And then you're just, there's next man up.
Yep.
You're just a commodity.
It's not their fault. They were here before us. They will be here after us. It's the people within the agency. It is the people we work with. Those are the people that have to protect us. It's not going to be the agency itself. It's no more than your truck or your helmet or any other piece of equipment you've got. It's just an agency. And we got to stop getting mad at it when it doesn't do what it's physically incapable of doing. The people within the agency, that's the folks that have to take the time to take care of each other and take care of ourselves.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions this evening while we are recording for the benefit of others who will listen?
So, Steve, first of all, thank you very much for presenting. I thought it was a lot of really, really good material. And I like the way that you presented it. Self-care that term has kind of become a trigger for me in the last couple of years because I think it's turned into an Instagram picture as opposed to actual beneficial advice or direction.
Yes, sir.
And I do like the way that you put it. I do believe too that self-care, when you're generalizing it, if you are explaining it to somebody else, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it too, when you are explaining it to somebody else, being cognizant that offering that somebody, putting the onus on them to self-care, sometimes that can be a very overwhelming and stress-inducing thing. So if you say, hey, look, you have to figure out what it is for you, and you have to figure out how to do that and how to make yourself, yes, there's a lot of truth in that. But somebody who's already suffering from anxiety being told, okay, now it turns into a chore rather than something that will actually help you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that the conversation is starting to shift from there, and especially what you just said about, therapy and finding that as well, having some guidance through what self-care looks like to you, as opposed to just navigating the countless Instagram or Facebook A-rolls that people are posting is a huge thing, because sometimes we need guidance in even shifting that term self-care into something more along the lines of community care. So knowing that, hey, look, I might not know what's best for you, but together maybe we can get and solve it.
Absolutely. And you guys are perfect at this. And the perfect analogy for you is this: you don't go into a burning structure by yourself. It's against training, it's against policy, it's against common sense. When somebody comes to you and says, Jeff, I'm struggling with this, and you say, well, you just need to snap out of it, Steve, that's not going to work. But when you say to me, you know what, Steve, we're going to do this together, I'm going to be here with you, we're going to figure this out together, it's no different than us going through that front door together. I mean, it's just a continuation. We go through that door together, so I'm watching you, you're watching me. This is no different. This is no different. One of the things we talk about when folks suffer from depression, and people say to them, oh, just snap out of it. It's not that bad. First of all, there's not a human being that's ever gone, oh, okay, that was wrong, I'm much better now. Nobody's ever done that. Secondly, you just told them there's something wrong with them. Oh, you need to snap out of it, this isn't that bad. Well, how do you know it's not that bad? Who can make that call for you? Nobody can make that call for you. So yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. You just don't want to say to somebody, you need to take care of, hey, let's go for a walk, let's go for a run, hey, next week let's go do this together. If you need to talk to somebody, I'm here. If you need to find somebody, I've got a friend. I mean, those are the things that you've got to do for each other. And it can't be just suggesting somebody go take care of themselves, because what does that look like?
So Steve, you just said something that made me think. I like to put things into a way in which I can make sense of them. And self-help is something that you do for yourself, not necessarily by yourself.
That's a great, Michael, that's a great way to put it. You're doing it for yourself. But you got to think of it also as, when I'm taking care of me, for the two of you, you have to take care of each other. And you got to be there you got to be there to take care of each other. So I agree. It's something I do for myself. It's not something I do by myself, but I'm also doing it so that I'm there for my spouse. I'm doing it so that I'm there for the guys I work with. I'm doing it for my children. I'm doing all those things. It's not just about me taking care of me. I'm doing it because I need to take care of me so I can be there for them. So I like that. Doing for yourself, but not by yourself. I like that a lot.
I'm stealing that one, by the way.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, because I didn't hear a trademark there. So Michael, we'll give you credit for that one, brother.
Give me credit for. Ali will tell you tomorrow, Steve. You have to give credit for the first 3 times that you steal it, and then
after that you own it.
That's correct.
Roger that.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to end the recording for the evening, but not the conversation. Steve, thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you, folks, for having me. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Michelle, I'll be in touch.
We will. And with that, I'll just end by saying that self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. As someone who was a caregiver to an individual living with PTSD, I can assure you that no words are truer than those that Steve spoke tonight and the quote that I just read.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, hug your families tonight. And Steve, we hope to have you on again in the future.
Absolutely. We would love to be here. You
All
folks
right.
take care. Good
All
night.
right. Thanks.